listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 214. Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the Small and Supercharged podcast. It's a solo with me, and this one's going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about a massive bugbear of mine. But more than that, this podcast is going to, before you hear it, it will have gone off on a little voyage over to the ASA, which is the Advertising Standards Authority, because I want to make sure that everything in this podcast is so bang on for you. I've taken that extra step, and I'm really grateful for the team over at the ASA for supporting me with this, because it's something that is really important. It's something I witter on about a lot, and I've wanted to do this podcast for ages. It's all about labelling ads as ads, labelling things that are given to you as ads, and proper labelling on social media. It is something that really annoys me that it's not done correctly. And there's an amazing guide online, which I am going to reference later on as well. But if you're busy and you've got your life to lead, just Google ASA influencer guidelines. Go to the ASA's website and download that PDF. It is really easy to understand. It's not written in jargon. There's a really cool flowchart, flipping love a flowchart, that will take you through it step by step. But I want to talk about it today. I want to be able to provide you with some really valuable information around the labelling and the labelling and the transparency connected to ads on social media, and also what an ad is, because I think sometimes people are a bit confused about what an ad is. And as I said, I'm massively grateful to the ASA for their support with this, so thank you very much. Now, before we get into the kind of nuts and bolts of it from an ASA side, one thing I want to address to start with is, well, actually there's a few things I want to address to start with. First of all, when we see as an end user, as a consumer of social media, somebody who has labelled an ad correctly, I think for some of us, we think, oh, they've been paid for that. Oh, it's not genuine, whatever. Now, that's fair enough. And I don't know who we're talking about here. I don't know who you follow. But if someone has labelled something as an ad and it's something they're genuinely passionate about, which, side note, should be the only thing you really want to promote as an ad anyway, give them a double tap, give them a like. Don't let the fact that it's been labelled an ad put you off engaging. I don't think that is a thing as much as we think it is, but I have personally noticed if I'm advertising my own business, if I'm promoting my own business on things, I will generally get less obvious engagement on those posts. So I think we need to be attacking this from multiple angles, and one is showing that support for people who do things correctly. They should be proud of their achievements, and we should be supporting them with that. So don't let someone who's put ad at the front put you off engaging. Quite the opposite. Think, well done to them, well done to them for labelling it properly, for working hard and bagging that opportunity, and support them if it's something that you want to support, obviously. And from the person's point of view who's posting that, if you have worked with a brand and you have been paid or incentivized, be proud. Put that ad label up the front because you are proud, as well as you need to do it, as we're going to talk about. But be proud. And also give your audience the courtesy of being upfront and honest with them. Nobody likes to be sold to in a stealth-like manner. It's not nice. It's not right at all, as we're going to go into, but it's not right. Treat your audience with respect and tell them when they're being sold to. It's important if we want to create that community, to foster that loyalty and tick all those boxes as well, that we do this. But now we're going to move on to the nuts and bolts of it more from a legal perspective, I guess. I'm not a solicitor. I'm not a lawyer. But I'm going to talk you through this situation and point you in the direction of where you can get further information and outline the bare bones of it. Now, this guideline I talked about, this PDF document, is incredible. Go and get it. It is free. You just download it and you read it. You can read the whole thing it doesn't take very long, honestly, and it's not jargon. So when we think about influencer guidelines and how we can be doing the right thing online, there are three abbreviations you're likely to hear, and you're likely to hear these as we go through as well. So the first one is the ASA, which is the Advertising Standards Authority. They're connected, obviously, to advertising. We've got the CMA, which is the Competition and Markets Authority, and they exist to ensure that customers and consumers get a good deal. And this isn't just when they buy a product, it's much broader than that too. And then there is the CAP, which is the CAP code, which we'll hear about, which is the Committee of Advertising Practice, and they're really dedicated to making ads responsible too. There's lots of different things that feed into this, but I want you to remember, if you don't take anything else away from this, it's actually on the final page of the ASA Influencer Guidelines, which just says, make it clear. There really isn't much more to it than that. We're going to talk about the detail. We're going to talk about what that actually means. But I think this is such a good point, because we can get really, really bogged down in, are we doing anything wrong? Are we doing it all right? What can we do that's better? And it's great to ask those questions. It's important to ask those questions. But if we keep in mind all the time that the whole point of this is about clarity, so people know when they're being sold to, they know when something is an ad, they know when you are incentivized as a creator, and it is clear, that is the overarching theme of this whole piece of work. So there is a code, which is the UK Code of Non-Broadcast Advertising and Direct and Promotional Marketing, or the CAP code, the CAP code. And that's what governs a lot of the stuff we're talking about today. Now, because something that you do falls within this code, it is not a reason to panic. It is not a problem. It is just that you need to be aware of it so you can do the labelling correctly and you can make it really clear what's going on. So don't worry about that. Now, one of the reasons where the CMA get involved is they get involved in different aspects of the influencer marketing sphere. And one of their things is not having editorial content, and I'll explain this as well, being used when someone has been incentivized, when you've been paid, or when you have been given a product for free, or when you have been told what to write. It's against the law if an ad isn't clearly identifiable. It is as simple as that. So editorial means it's almost presented like an unbiased view. When we get editorial in magazines, which is obviously something I do quite a bit of with clients, you look for that unbiased, generic view. So me telling you that this top is the best top I've ever worn because I've spent my hard-earned money on it and actually think it's really, really good, is quite different potentially to if I've been given this top and I have to tell you it's good. Now, any influencer I think worth their salt wouldn't do that. If they'd been given a top and they thought it was rubbish, they just wouldn't put it on their grid. But it's still a different thing. If I've spent my hard-earned money on it and I'm saying to you, it's a really good top, I'd recommend it, go and spend your money on it like I have, that's quite different to I was given it for free and I really like it. You should go and buy it, you should go and spend your money on it. If the one, when I was given the top, is promoted as I bought it, that's not good. And that is what the CMA particularly are against. So when we talk about payment, this is a really interesting subject because payment doesn't just mean that I've given you 20, 30, 40, 400 pounds. Payment means anything that you have been paid for with money. It also means the loan of a product. It means a product that's been given. It means if you've been taken on a VIP experience for free. It is any form of incentive. And again, there is nothing wrong with being paid in product or in money or in experiences to promote something. There is nothing wrong with this at all. The whole point of this guide and of the rules that are in place are to just make it clear that that's what it is. Any payment needs to be disclosed. And this also extends to affiliate marketing. So this is where you get given a link or you sign up to a program. And that link, when people click through that link and purchase something using it, you get some kind of kickback. You get a proportion, a percentage of what they've spent, and that gets paid into your account, or you accrue it and then you buy different things. This doesn't mean you shouldn't do it either. It just means it needs to be disclosed. If someone buys through the link, and there's been some really great explanations I've seen online about how it works, which is generally, that people are saying, I appreciate it's horses for courses and it might be different in different situations, but people who are using affiliate links have just said, if you click through this link, I get some money, but it doesn't cost you any more. Equally, I just really like this product. So if you want to go and buy it through a different link, just go straight to the website or whatever, absolutely go for it, which I think is a really nice way of explaining it. But that's just me. So when it comes to ads and affiliate marketing and anything connected to this at all, the CAP code and the CMA make it very, very clear that ads must be easy to understand, obvious, identifiable and clear. And this isn't just having the word ad there, it's actually the placement of that word as well. So it needs to be upfront. From all the reading I've done, which is fairly significant, it needs to be at the very front of your caption. So let's say you've put something on social, it needs to be the first word. Some of the things I've read said if people have to click see more to see it, that's too much. It needs to be ad is the first word before you go on. Now, when I say it says ad, there are other words you can use as well. The ASA and the CMA advise the use of words like ad or advert, advertisement feature or advertising feature. You can use these with or without the hashtag. The hashtag isn't really relevant to the labelling in this case. The thing about all of these is that they are obvious what they are. We're all accustomed to the term ad, advert, advertisement even, advertising feature. Now, there are other labels that people do use. Gifted is a really popular one. I've seen lots of sponsored as well. If you read the guide, these aren't ones that are generally advised, but there is kind of every situation is different. So whilst the ASA and the CMA are definitely pushing more towards the advert, there are some that are kind of perhaps a grey area, so I'd probably steer clear. If you can avoid that. I think just as a side note, I think sometimes it's nice to explain the terms of the ad, but that doesn't actually impact on your labelling of it. But if you want to be really open and honest with your customers, you could say ad that you're labelling as an ad because you've been given these products or something like that, but that's up to you. Now, the thing that they are definitely against is anything that isn't easy to understand. And this is often abbreviations for things like, say, putting spon. Now, you might know that means sponsored or sponsored content. Fair enough. But is it easy for everybody to understand? And I think some of these abbreviations that I've seen more and more of are not easy to understand at all. And I know them because I work in this space. But for the normal average consumer, the normal as in consuming social media, would they know what it meant? Probably not. I've also seen an awful lot of ad tags hidden at like the bottom of a list of hashtags. That is not clear and upfront at all. It needs to be front and centre and have that clear label in there too. There are often as well, through some of the platforms that we use, the option of tagging partners and making it clear inside the platform before you start on the caption that it is an advertisement feature, an advertisement for a brand, or that you're partnered with a brand. This is great, and I think it's a really, really good function, but I don't think that means you shouldn't put that it's an ad as well, because if we're thinking about making it really, really clear and upfront, would everybody see that? Usually it's quite subtle. It's usually at the top. Thinking about Instagram, it's at the top. So do make sure you definitely still label it. It's important. It really, really is. Obvious is key, and it's before people click see more or click more or they engage. They should know it then. Would your audience know that it was an ad? You need to almost put on a different set of glasses and say, would they know that this is an ad? If the answer is no, or perhaps you need to be labelling that in a better way. And the thing is, this isn't just a nice to have. There are cases when legal action is taken. I don't mean to terrify you here. You know I'm not a solicitor or a lawyer. But if you go onto the ASA's website, you can see examples of where influencers have run into trouble. So it's not just it's a nice to have, it's a necessary to have. Don't panic about it, but just do the research and do your best to do the right thing. And there's also loads of information online to help you do the right thing. And there's even a advice line which you can call as well. That's in the back of the influencer guide from the ASA. So there's loads of options to do the right thing. But yeah, clarity, just think clarity all the time. Now there's an interesting thing when it comes to control as well. Because there's an aspect of control with some ads, and this is actually probably broader than you think. So for some of the organisations we've talked about, for some the control aspect makes something an ad, and for others it's not really important. The fact that the product was given for free, or there was some payment in kind, or you were given money, makes it an ad. Now the control thing, which is really interesting, is that it isn't just when a brand tells you what to say. It's not just a copy and paste job and therefore that's an ad. It goes deeper than that. If a brand tells you what they want the video or the image to be about or containing, like an unboxing, that is a control which contributes to making it an ad as well. Also, if you have to agree the frequency, so you say I'm going to post this many stories, this many grid posts, this many whatever you're doing, that's a control aspect too. And if you need to check or approve the content with the brand, even if they don't change it, that's also a control thing. Again, not a bad thing at all, but something just to be aware of if you're in any doubt about whether your ad is an ad. These control things make it more of an ad, but still, if you're given something for free, then it still needs to be labelled as such. Now you're not alone with this. I see, lots of people struggle with this, but there's a really good guide available. If you go, as I said, go to Google and Google ASA Influencer Guidelines, there is a PDF that you can download. It is only, I've got it on my screen now, it's 19 pages long. So it's not long, and a lot of it is, diagrams and colours. So it's not like you've got to do loads and loads of reading, but it's really, really useful. And what you've got towards the back few pages, you've got a really good flow chart, which I would definitely recommend you have a look with, which is my post an ad and do I need to label it? And that's really handy, really, really useful. And it even goes into the differences between the ASA and the CMA, which is quite useful. But you've also got a where can I get help? And there's lots of online guidance. There's a copy advice team, which you can call or you can email. They do online and face-to-face trainings as well. And there's loads of downloadable guides and online information to support everything that we've talked about today and more. We need to be better at this. We as an industry really need to be better at this. I think that it's important that everybody at every level does the work. If you want to become an influencer, if you want to get sponsored, if you want to work with brands on more of a commercial basis or as a brand ambassador, you need to get better at this. And if you're a brand listening, you need to get better at this too. By providing the people that you work with the right information, sending them the link to this podcast or to the ASA guide, do it. Because we need to be getting better. And the only way we're going to be getting better is through education and through learning. Not that many years ago, influencers weren't a thing. And the way that we marketed, we didn't promote products in this way because it just wasn't a thing. So it is fairly new. It's a space that evolves all the time, but we can all do our bit to make sure it's labelled correctly. Going back to the loyalty aspect as well, okay, you should do it from a legal perspective, as we've found out by going through what we have done today, but also from a brand or from an influencer, as in a personal brand point of view. Pay your followers, fans, the courtesy of being open and honest with them. Your true fans and followers will be really, really pleased for you. They'll be delighted that you're working with a brand that you love. They'll be really happy that you're making the difference you want to make or doing what you want to do. The other people, don't stress about them. They are not your people at all. So really focusing on that. It's important, but also don't worry about doing it. And what if you lose followers? What if people are negative? What if they just think I get all the stuff for free all the time? That's not your problem. You need to be comfortable with the decisions you make in terms of who you work with anyway. The brands you work with, the products you choose to promote, that's first, that is really, really important. And then you need to label that stuff correctly. And people that don't like it, they're best to unfollow, because they're not going to help you to do the right thing, which is so important, and support the trajectory that you are on and your goals for your personal brand too. Thank you so much for listening to this. I really hope it's been useful. I am incredibly grateful to the ASA for their help with this podcast. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that we can make a bit of a difference through helping to educate people around why it's so important to label, how they can label things, and where they can go for additional support. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please do screenshot, share to stories if you have listened, and let me know if you learned anything. And please do feel free to share this podcast with people as well. You don't need to tell me you've done it. I mean, if you do want to, that's lovely. But if there's people that you think this would be useful for them, please do share it. The more people that know, the better and clearer we're going to make the landscape of social media in our space, and that can only be a really good thing. Thanks so much for joining me today. Take care, and we will catch up next week.